Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. What liberated the Buddha? It seems like an important question, but we don't often think about it, so I would like to get into that today. But to catch your attention, I will begin with a quiz on the Los Angeles Dodgers. So here we go. What are the names of the Dodger players who currently wear these numbers, 17, 18, and 11? Now, please don't call out the answers just yet. Let's give others a chance to test their knowledge. A big clue is that all these numbers are worn by pitchers. Think for just another moment. Now, let's hear your answers. Easy one. Who wears number 17? Shohei Ohtani. Now, who wears number 18? Yamamoto. And who wears number 11? Very good. Great job. You passed the quiz with flying colors. And at this point, you must be thinking, Pollard usually talks about ideas from Buddhism. Why is he quizzing us on the Dodgers? Well, the reason for starting my talk this way is that I want you to remember the specific numbers 17, 18, and 11. And maybe Shohei, Yoshi, and Roki can help with that. As it turns out, these numbers reside at the heart of Shinran's teaching, the Dharma path that he calls Jodo Shinshu, which means the true essence of Pure Land Buddhism. Jodo Shinshu cannot be said to exist apart from these numbers. How is that possible? Not to keep you in suspense, 17, 18, and 11 are numbers corresponding to 3 specific vows in the larger Sutra of Immeasurable Life. Most likely, you know that the larger sutra contains 48 vows altogether, and you may know that all the vows were established eons ago by Bodhisattva Dharmakara. Now take note of the image here in this slide. Did you know that the famous bronze Daibutsu in Kamakura, Japan, is a depiction of Dharmakara's meditation? I mentioned that there are 48 vows, but Shinran does not give equal emphasis to all of them. Instead, he identifies 8 specific vows as having been fulfilled in his life. Those 8 vows describe the path to liberation that he experienced. They were given new meaning by Shinran and by no one else. The 8 vows are the essential basis of Jodo Shinshu. They are, in Shinran's paired ordering, numbers 17 and 18, numbers 11 and 22, numbers 12 and 13, and numbers 19 and 20. Let's consider just the first vow among Shinran's 8. In fulfilling vow 17, the first one, Bodhisattva Dharmakara is becoming Namo Amidabutsu, the phrase that we often hear and recite during services. Now, you may have heard that Dharmakara is becoming a personage called Amida Buddha. However, a better way to say it is that Dharmakara makes a vow to become the words Namo Amidabutsu. Shinran understands these words as an imperative sentence, meaning roughly, you there, wake up, Namo Amidabutsu. Every time these words are spoken and heard, vow 17 is fulfilled, and Dharmakara is manifested here and now. In this way, a promise made ages ago is coming to fruition in the present moment. Mind-bending, if you think about it. Today, I will focus only on vow 17, the Shohei vow, to help you remember. It is the vow by which Dharmakara is becoming the words Namo Amidabutsu. To explain that, I need to offer you some background. The basis of Buddhism is that 2,500 years ago in India, a spiritual seeker named Siddhartha Gautama attained awakening a new awareness that freed him from the world of illusion. This awareness set him apart from the other seekers of his era. Siddhartha became the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. As you probably know, the word Buddha means the awakened one. You might also know the related word Bodhi, which means the state of awakening itself. We say that Siddhartha attained Bodhi. And we say that a bodhisattva is a person who aspires wholeheartedly to become a Buddha. In a nutshell, the attainment of Bodhi by Siddhartha Gautama is the basis of all the various Buddhist traditions around the world. Nevertheless, there are very significant differences between the forms of Buddhism that existed in India, say, or Tibet, or China, or Japan, or Vietnam, to name just a few. To a fair degree, these differences turn on the response to one simple question. How did Siddhartha's awakening come about? That is, what liberated the historical Buddha, the person we call Shakyamuni? The response to that question will set the tone for the path taken by any disciple of the Buddha. Here I will try to express Shinran's understanding of what liberated the historical Buddha. After examining many sutras and commentaries, Shinran concluded that the most convincing response is contained in the larger Sutra of Immeasurable Life, which I mentioned earlier in connection with the 48 vows. For Shinran, the larger sutra explains what liberated the Buddha Shakyamuni. Let me share with you the storyline that caught Shinran's attention. It is the story of how a student is transformed by observing his teacher. On this day, in the story, the student Ananda is seated in the presence of his teacher Shakyamuni, and Shakyamuni's face is shining. Observing this, Ananda experiences a moment of awakening that allows him to regard his teacher in an altogether new way. Ananda exclaims, "World-honored one, today your dignified form is shining with immeasurable excellence. Until now, I never saw this special, marvelous quality." Ananda then asks the most important question of his life. He says this: Buddhas arose in the past, they are to come in the future, and they exist in the present. All these Buddhas join in thinking of one another. Are not you, the present Buddha, thinking of all the other Buddhas? Isn't that the reason your majestic radiance is so brilliant? The answer is, of course, yes. Thinking of the Buddhas of the past is causing Shakyamuni's face to shine brilliantly. He is also thinking of the present and future Buddhas, including Ananda, seated before him, a Buddha to be. And at the same time, all of these Buddhas are thinking of one another. There is a word that means thinking of all the Buddhas, a word that you know quite well. That word is nenbutsu, also pronounced nembutsu. Shakyamuni is being liberated by nembutsu. The radiance perceived by Ananda is a sign that Shakyamuni is re-experiencing the moment of Bodhi, the moment he became what we would call a Mahayana Buddha. To the astounded student Ananda, the teacher's experience must seem remote from his own. But in fact, the seed of liberation has long been present within Ananda. Witnessing the radiance of his teacher has caused the seed to sprout, as evidenced by Ananda's insightful question. Ananda becomes aware that all the Buddhas are indeed thinking of one another, which includes Shakyamuni's thinking of Ananda, his student, a future Buddha. This is how Buddhas experience nembutsu. Ananda is not yet a Buddha like his teacher, but because of his new awareness, his path to Buddhahood is now irreversible. Shinran assigns central importance to this story because in the presence of his own teacher, Honen, he, Shinran, experienced the same mutual awakening as the awakening that resonated between Ananda and Shakyamuni. That is why Shinran paid so much attention to the larger sutra. It's why he devotes the entire first chapter of his main writing to quoting and explaining the story I'm sharing with you today. Prompted by the student's new insight, Shakyamuni is extravagant in praising Ananda, saying that his question will bring immense benefits to all living beings. Now, Ananda is fortunate to be a direct student of Shakyamuni, which none of us can be. Shakyamuni has passed into history. But to allow future generations to gain the same awareness as Ananda, Shakyamuni now shares the legendary story of Bodhisattva Dharmakara becoming Namo Amida Butsu. Ananda will remember the story and will share it with his successors. This process of sharing the teaching of Nembutsu has continued down to the present day. Now, you might wonder, how is the teaching of Nembutsu expressed in the story of Dharmakara? Shinran highlights the meaning of the story by focusing on one of Dharmakara's vows, namely vow 17, the Shohei vow, which I mentioned earlier. I will share with you now some passages that express vow 17. Let's start with Shinran's commentary. He writes this: Dharmakara proclaimed the transcendent vow to open wide the Dharma storehouse, and out of sympathy for foolish ordinary people, selected and bestowed on them the treasure of virtues. So take note of this term, treasure of virtues. It refers here to the words Namo Amida Butsu, the treasure that Dharmakara will bestow on all beings. That is how Shinran understands vow 17. And in the larger sutra, we find the words of Dharmakara, as in this passage. Dharmakara says, "When I have attained Buddhahood, my name will fill the 10 quarters. If there is any place where Namo Amida Butsu is not heard, then there is no genuine awakening." Dharmakara promises here to become the name that resounds throughout the universe. Unless the name is heard, there can be no genuine awakening for anyone. Dharmakara then expands on the vow. The passage goes, "For the sake of beings, I will open up the treasure storehouse and widely bestow the treasure of virtues, or Namo Amida Butsu. Among the multitudes, I will always preach the Dharma with a lion's roar." Preaching the Dharma with a lion's roar among the multitudes. This can only mean that Dharmakara promises in vow 17 to become human teachers, specifically to become teachers who are praising the treasure of virtues. Teachers like Shinran are voicing Namo Amida Butsu so that we can hear the words and appreciate the meaning that they carry. And elsewhere in the larger sutra, the role of teachers in vow 17 is expressed this way. "The Buddhas throughout the 10 quarters, countless as the sands of the Ganges River, are one in praising the majestic power and the virtues inconceivably profound of the Buddha of immeasurable life." This means that countless teachers are praising Amida Buddha by voicing Namo Amida Butsu. That is what I mean when I say that Dharmakara promises to become words, the words of Shinran, and the words of teachers we meet in person, the words of Marvin Harada, for example. Some of you might think that the language of the sutra is exaggerated, but I think it's better to call it visionary. The larger sutra presents a vision that becomes a source of inspiration for us. The vision or sacred story is realized through historical teachers. actual human beings who are voicing Namo Amida Butsu. It's they who are the Buddhas throughout the 10 quarters, countless as the sands of the Ganges. By meeting the teacher, the visionary language manifests as our reality here and now. This is how Shinran understands the fulfillment of Vow 17, which he experienced by listening to the words of his own teacher, Honen. In this way, Shinran gained the same awareness as Ananda, just as Shakyamuni intended when he gave this teaching. It's no wonder that the sacred story in the larger sutra drew Shinran's attention. It presents Nembutsu as the experience of Buddhas mutually thinking of one another, as with Shakyamuni and Ananda. The powerful implication for us is that Buddhist awakening, or Bodhi, exists in the mutual resonance between teachers and students, as has occurred countless times across the centuries. The resonance continues to be felt in our own day, here and now. Thinking of the Buddhas of the past, future, and present is what liberated the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. That is how Shinran came to understand the larger sutra, when he experienced the same liberation as Ananda. Today I have tried to explain number 17, the Shohei vow. Another time, maybe I can tell you about numbers 18 and 11, the Yoshi and Roki vows. Thank you very much for listening. Namandats.